see if I can make you co-host. Hi,
Do I need
Vicky.
to stay? Do I need to stay on to record it?
No.
Okay. I
But-
might be co-host already.
Hold on, let me look.
I'm not. Okay.
Good, how are you?
Let's see. Okay.
Hi, Cece.
Hey.
Sorry, I'm not cameraed up because I am in the car.
Oh, you're good. I was just admiring your photo. I'm like, this is a
Oh.
pretty picture.
You're so nice. Okay. Let me see if Terry's made me co-host. Yep, I'm co-host, so I can let people in. I'm gonna guess, and it looks like Vicky's here. I'm going to guess we will have not very many people here, just because it is our Koahara event. So I will turn it over to you and let you do your show.
Perfect. Is it just Vicky right now on the call then?
It is Vicky right now on the call.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, perfect. Well, maybe we can really get you everything you need because usually I'm teaching so many different people and have an outline of what I usually go through.
Mhm.
But if you want to communicate to me along the way of, hey, can you go more in depth on this? Either it be Command, MLS, DocuSign, let me know because it's just me and you.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so this is the contract to close class. So you're going to learn everything you need to know when you receive a contract
Yeah.
to close it.
Mhm.
There's going to be rapid speed information, and then I try to go in depth a little bit on certain systems, but just know that I think this is going to be recorded, and if you ever have questions, you can always reach out to me.
Okay.
So just starting out, Command is the first thing I always like to explain. So I'm just going to jump into one of,
Are you sharing screen? I cannot see your screen.
oh yes, let me share. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So first thing is Command. Have you logged into your Command at all and played with it?
Yeah, I did, but like
Okay.
a smart plan or other stuff, I just not familiar with them.
Opportunities.
Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, smart plans, I would say, is probably the biggest area you're going to use Command for, but it's also going to be opportunities. It's these little hands hooked together and your contacts. So if you do sync your contacts within Command, it is beneficial because it also will sync to your opportunities. So it's a little bit less work than having to enter all your contacts when you create an opportunity if they're already in contacts.
Yeah.
So when we come into opportunities, why we're creating an opportunity within Command is when we get a deal, even when we get new buyers or new sellers, we want to put the agency documents in first. So that's the first step.
Yeah.
Those are buyer due diligence, wire fraud, ABA, buyer broker agreement, or if you're working on the seller side, it's that exclusive right to sell, wire fraud, ABA. And what's cool about opportunities, which I'll show you in a sec, is all the documents are going to be linked within the opportunity, and you're able to see that checklist if you do forget. I always reference back to Command just to know, especially in the beginning if you're a new agent, what documents are required to close on a deal for Keller Williams. So when we come into all opportunities, I just want to show you this feature really quickly. This is an agent that closes on a lot of deals, as you can see. So eventually, if you do real estate for years and years and years, as agents have with Keller Williams, this number is going to only increase, right? Sometimes you may have 200 opportunities in here. And so if ever you need to go back and reference an opportunity, or you are working on multiple opportunities at one time, this is the area that you'll come to once you create one. This is where it's going to sit. So all the opportunities that you're working on, currently Shelly has all of hers closed and is working on getting some more under contract. So I'll show you how to organize it by phase. So it's really easy for you to see what you're working on that's under contract and which ones are active and which ones are closed. But if you do create an opportunity, you're like, where did they go? They're right here in all opportunities. So to create an opportunity, a new one, let's say you're an agent, you're a new agent, you just got your first deal, you're wanting to put the agency documents and submit those to Keller Williams. This is what we're going to do. So we're going to create an opportunity. This is the first page that's going to pop up. And please let me know if I'm repeating anything you already know.
So this create an opportunity, I already know.
You already know? Perfect. Yeah. Okay, so let's skip this. When you come into an opportunity, have you watched me talking about, maybe it's a video of me talking, so if it is, the features of the 3 dots, how to submit, and where you find affiliated business disclosure? Do you know any of those things?
I know I was in class to learn these, but I never have a chance to do it yet. I don't have any transaction closed, so I never come to this far.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, let's pick it up here then. So the 3 main things that we need to do within an opportunity that we need to have filled out before you can submit it to Keller Williams and everything's approved so you can actually get paid. Right here, the DA and check and CD, is we need to fill out details, documents, offers, and commissions.
How do you get to this page?
How do you get to this page?
Yeah.
So once we created the opportunity, right, we're at this page.
Yeah.
Fill out the client's name. Let's just type in something for fun, right? The opportunity, let's say, is a listing. You just need to fill out things with asterisks. So all those are filled out. Close date, you won't know because you just got a buyer or a listing agency docs, and that's all you have. You don't have a contract yet, so you don't have a close date. You can leave that blank. Commission rate is required. So whatever you put on that BBA, just put that commission rate here. So let's just say it's 3%.
So I don't know what BBA and BBC for. Are they the same thing?
Yeah, so the BBA is the buyer broker's agreement. So that's the document that you will fill out where you are making a relationship with that buyer, and you're pretty much putting that 3%, 2.5%, which is what the buyer is willing to pay you if the seller isn't willing to pay you.
Yeah.
So some agents put 3%, which I recommend, because if you've been going to the classes at Keller Williams, we unfortunately can't lower the buyer broker agreement anymore. So I always tell agents put 3%, or sorry, you can't increase the buyer broker agreement. So if you're at a 2.5%, right? And let me just show this to you while we do it, because this may be helpful if you've never seen it before.
So if you put 3% and later you can do lower in the addendum.
Yep, you can lower it in addendum. So I'll show you in here real quick. So this is the buyer broker agreement. And there's a section when you scroll down to 2.1 called brokerage fee.
Yeah.
And this is where you put 2.5%, 3%, whatever you're putting there. And then this is where you put a transaction fee, which is where you pay me, or you can do a little bonus if they're willing to pay you that. Usually $350 to $400 is what I see.
Yeah.
But you'll notice in this paragraph is, let's see, somewhere in here. Okay, I don't want to take too much time trying to find it, but I would read over this. And there's a section here that says that once this is locked in, once this buyer broker agreement is signed,
Yeah.
then this percentage cannot be changed. So if it's
Okay.
2.5, we can't go to 3%. Even if a listing agent or a seller is willing to negotiate and give you 3%, you can't take it.
Okay.
So what we can do is there is an addendum that we can do to the buyer broker agreement
Mm-hmm.
that states, if for some reason we have a seller that's only willing to give us 2.5% and our
Mhm.
buyer broker agreement says 3%, then
Mhm.
we will go down to 2.5 so our clients don't have to pay. But I've also seen scenarios where clients do pay that other 0.5%. So that's what you can negotiate with your clients if you
Okay.
have a lot for them. So we'll just say this is 3% and we'll press create. So once we press create here,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do it because it'll create an opportunity in Shelly's command file, but let's pretend that we clicked create.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is once we clicked create, this
Mm-hmm.
is going to pop up. So that's how we got to this page.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So once we get drawn to this page, this is already filled out in the details tab. We have property and key information, which are the two boxes that we
Mhm.
have to fill out to
Mhm.
get paid. So when we're in the details tab, if we are not under contract yet on the buyer side, I
Mhm.
don't fill out the property box. I wait until we go under contract to know what the property is.
Okay.
But if we are on the listing side, then I will fill out this property right away because we already know the house that we're working on because it's
Right.
the seller, right?
Yeah.
So key information, when we come over here, this is one of my favorite boxes for the phase, right?
Mhm.
So that other
Mm.
page I was showing you where it says all closed, which kept Shelly's all opportunities really organized.
Mhm.
Sometimes this will say active or cultivate, which is the phase that you're in when you just got buyer doc sign or listing doc
Mhm.
sign. So that's that
Mhm.
BBA or exclusive right to sell. I only change this phase once we go under contract. So
Mhm.
there's an option, if it lets us do it, where we can click down on the phase icon and change it to anything we'd like.
Mhm.
So we can change it to under contract when we're under contract, when we're closed. Keller Williams actually does that for us now, which is nice. You don't have to worry about closing the file out.
Mhm.
Keller Williams will do that for you.
Okay.
So really it's just under contract.
So right now we just okay, that one is already closed. Okay.
Yep, this one's already closed. I'm just showing you one that's all the way done so you can get a feel of what you need to work towards. And then I'll show you one that looks empty so you can see
Okay.
the difference.
Yeah.
So this one, yeah, is closed, but key information, property, those are the only boxes you really need to get paid.
Mhm.
All the stuff down here, key dates, you can insert this if you want to organize all your files within Command. Otherwise, I've seen agents organize files just throughout other systems outside of Command. So it's just preference.
Yeah.
So we have documents. Documents is the next thing I'll jump into. And so as you can see,
Mhm.
these buyer broker agreement, buyer due diligence, wire fraud, ABA is
Yeah.
populated. I want you to know when you first start a file,
Mhm.
I'll show you how to open it up, but these headers that go down in a list will populate for you. And
Mhm.
there will be drop your file here all along the top to the bottom that
Mhm.
allows you to drop these files in, which is what I did for Shelly.
Okay.
So it's really easy. Once you get the document signed, you just have to pretty much connect the buyer broker agreement doc to the buyer broker agreement header within Command and just organize it that way.
Mhm.
Then under contract is also a checklist of items that will populate for you all the way up to PR commitment for title. This allows you to go down this checklist, and these are the documents that are going to come throughout the transaction. So
all
go
the
ahead.
documents should be uploaded manually from my end.
You can do it manually, which I typically like to do, or you can connect your DocuSign and do everything through Rooms and DocuSign.
Mhm.
So there's ways you can create files within DocuSign that will actually drop your files within Command.
Mm-hmm.
If you just drop down button, if you do have DocuSign connected, it'll pop up here so you know it's connected.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a preference. So if ever you want to connect that, I would probably talk to Kimber or Terry and see if they know how to do that.
Okay.
But under contract, so consultation is the stage of you just received a client and you got agency documents signed. Under contract is when you go under contract, you got a rep C signed, it's been accepted, it's no longer in counter offer states,
Mm-hmm.
and you're uploading the documents from the transaction. So
Mm-hmm.
we have rep C, earnest money, MLS printout. This is what an MLS printout looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all the information that you'll see on the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking at properties for your clients, this is what's going to populate for you.
Yeah.
And have you seen this before?
Yes, I did.
You have? Perfect. Okay. So Keller Williams requires you to download this document and upload it within Command.
Okay.
For your protection for a copy of inspection, you'll need a copy of your inspection report,
Mm-hmm.
which is just what your inspector is going to send to you.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have an inspection done, for your protection form will need to be signed, and that's just right here within Command. We don't have it on the MLS. It's, I think, a document that Keller Williams has set up in their system specifically.
Okay.
So if you ever need it, just tap on, just come into your Command file and then download it. You can download it just like that.
Okay.
And then you have seller disclosures signed by both parties. PR commitment to title. So this is what a PR will look like. And this is a statement that title will send to you in about 3, 4, or 5 days from going under contract if you're working on the buyer side.
Mm-hmm.
If you're working on the listing side, they should have this already set up if you got a PR started before you listed the property. So they'll send it to you pretty quickly, just an updated version.
What does the PR stand for?
It stands for a preliminary report.
That's from title company?
Title company. Yep.
So if I'm representing buyer, I need to contact a title company to get that form?
So, yep, you'll need it for both sides. So if you're working on the buyer side or if you're working on the seller side, you will always need a title commitment from both.
Okay.
And this is something you can ask title, and they'll know how to, they'll know exactly what you're talking about. The reasons why we want this title commitment report is because, for one, it's pulling everything from the history that when the property was built to when it's being sold right now. So if there's any liens on the property or if there's any taxes that are unpaid, you don't want that to transfer over to your client. So we get a preliminary report from title, and this has all the history, if you scroll down, of if there's any liens on the property, any defects, it pretty much spells it all out. Title will also let you know and is really good they're really good to notify you if there is any judgments or liens, and they also will always take care of them before we close. So
okay.
we want to be on top of it, but go ahead.
Yeah. Is there any cost if you get this report from title?
Is there any calls, you said?
Is there any cost, any fees?
Oh, yes. So usually title fees, it depends on the title company. So let me go to, this is called a check and settlement statement paper, but Keller Williams calls it a check and CD. So this is the commission check, but if you scroll down, this is called a settlement statement paper. And this is what you always want to get before you close, just to review these numbers. Because this is the purchase price of what it's selling.
Yeah.
This is the earnest money. This is the loan amount. This is a credit, concessions. And if you just keep scrolling down, these are the fees that are being paid from HOA, because this is connected to an HOA. These are the charges from the lender, it looks like.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2% points. Okay. Continues, and then you'll come down here and it says title charges and escrow settlement charges.
Mm-hmm.
So these are all the fees of using a title company, which you always will have to. But this is going to be the lender's title insurance. And so what you really do pay here is you pay title insurance and lender insurance. And this is for them to protect your client.
Mm-hmm.
That if, let's say, for some reason, title didn't do their job
Mm-hmm.
and your client ended up getting stuck with a lien on the property or a judgment,
Mm-hmm.
this is insurance that covers your buyer, that allows them to be able to go to court and get out of this situation where they don't have to pay for the the lien on the property.
Okay.
So does that make sense?
Yes.
It's almost like, right, a flood on the home. We pay for home insurance for floods. And so if a flood happens, it's great that we have flood insurance because it covers us. We don't have to pay it out of pocket.
Right.
That's the same for title insurance and also lending insurance.
Okay. So all these fees will be in the closing cost.
Yep, this will all be a part of the closing cost.
Mm-hmm.
And so as you see here, they asked for $12,000 in closing costs. So definitely a buyer's market where you can still ask for a good amount of your closing costs for your buyers for it to be paid if they don't have as much money or cash to put down.
Yeah. If the cash offer transaction closed, so you don't have to pay these like title fee or insurance fee.
You won't have to pay. It depends, because I was talking to a title person about this recently. You will always have to pay for title insurance. That's always going to be a thing, and you want to. But when you don't have a lender involved, because it's a cash offer, they don't need to they're not requiring a loan on the deal. And sometimes you don't have to pay for a loan policy. And so the loan policy is that coverage of a loan. But if you are paying cash, there's times, and I would just always double check, and you can see it on a PR statement. So let's just go back to that real quick. So on a PR statement, you can see how much, if there is going to be a loan policy in place, dependent on the loan. So proposed insured Security National Mortgage looks like is the one that's applying this loan. And the loan policy is right here. So this is what they're going to be charged, $1,158.
That's the insurance for your loan?
Yep, that's the insurance on the loan. That is what you're paying for the loan policy. So lots of numbers to always, especially as an agent, you just always want to review this, make sure everything looks good. If we jump back to the settlement statement papers, which I always ask and recommend that we get this a couple days before you close. Sometimes you can't because the lender is still balancing the numbers and has to wait until the underwriter gives them the green light to put the final numbers on the settlement statement papers.
Yeah.
You may get the settlement statement papers the day before closing or the day of closing. There's times where that happens. But as long as you review it, it's going to be put in front of you at the closing table as well. So don't worry, you can go through those numbers again with your client before they sign. Because once they sign, those numbers are locked in place. It's really difficult to go back on them.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we go back to the check and CD, 1,000, let's see. Yeah, so here's that amount, 1,803. Let me just look here real quick. Okay. Yeah, so any questions on any of that so far?
So those documents you were talking about, those have to be signed physically, or you can sign from DocuSign.
So the documents we were just talking about, starting with the PR report, that one doesn't need to be signed. It just needs to be reviewed. and we just need to make sure we take care of any liens and judgments if there are any before closing.
Yeah.
When it comes to the settlement statement paper, which is that closing document with all the numbers, that one will get signed at closing.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about sending those in DocuSign. It's only for review and to make sure the numbers look good. And then if they don't, or there's some mistakes, we reach out to title and make sure we get those updated and fixed. So it is good to go for when you sit down at the table with your client to sign it at
Okay.
the closing table.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, some other little features I just wanted to show you. So we have all those docs closed. So these are the two you really have to upload docs to: consultation, under contract.
Mm-hmm.
Closed, this is, you don't need to touch anything in closed. This is actually where Priyanka, are you from Keller Williams South Valley?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So Priyanka is the one that cuts our checks. She will actually be the one to upload a DA and check and CD. So you don't have to worry about uploading anything in here.
Okay.
So she will upload what's called a disbursement authorization form,
Mm-hmm.
and you will get this via email once you get paid.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you close on a transaction
Yeah.
and you're curious on how much is going to hit your bank account
Mm-hmm.
because you have splits, right?
Yeah.
So we want to know what's going to Keller Williams, what's going to us, what deductions do we have?
Mm-hmm.
So on disbursement authorization form is for you to have to keep track for tax purposes, to keep track of how much you're making and what your cap is at.
Yeah.
But also it's for Keller Williams to track these numbers in their back end. So you will get this via email, and it will also sit in your command file.
Mm-hmm.
And so as you can see, it's connected to the property address. Here's all the names within the transaction, dates. You have your sales price. This is what it's sold for.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the total commission check.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is I make sure this commission matches the check. So it was $7,925. I'll come to this check and make sure it matches, which this one doesn't. And the reason why it doesn't is because it's probably on the buyer side. And when we're working on a buyer side, we hold earnest money at the brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
So when you drop off earnest money at the brokerage, you're going to get what's called an earnest receipt. And it's going to look like this.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the earnest app, but when you actually deposit money into the brokerage, it'll look a little different than this. But what we want to check is, what does this amount say, right? This is $1,000.
Yeah.
So we're holding 1,000, and this is a buyer. So most likely what happened is what title likes to do, and this is always what they do. So you can just don't be scared if your check is a little less than what it should be, because most of the time what title does is they add what is held at the title company, and they add that to the check amount that they're going to send. So they want the earnest money and their check being sent to total the actual amount of the check. So we don't have an overage of, let's say, $1,000 or $2,000 sitting in our brokerage and needs to be sent to title. Sometimes that does happen where we still have an overage, and then we'll have to reach out to Priyanka and ask her to cut a check back. But in most scenarios, if you scroll down to the check, you'll see a deposit here for $1,000, and then there was a commission credit for $600. So really, the check amount is going to be for $8,525 minus 1,000, right? Which is going to be minus 1,000, minus 600, which is going to give you that $6,925. Does that make sense?
I don't think so. I'm confused.
Yeah, I know. First time I was like that too. Okay. So check came in at $6,925. We are holding a deposit of $1,000 as earnest money at our brokerage.
Yeah.
We also, this agent had a commission credit. So what they did in this scenario is they ended up paying back their client $600 to help them with closing fees. So they no longer have $600. They pay that to their client. So that was out of their commission.
Okay.
Selling agent commission in total should be $8,525.
Mm-hmm.
But this check says $6,925.
Yeah.
So what title did was they deducted 1,000 because we're holding it at the brokerage. So Priyanka will add that to this check.
Yeah.
They also deducted $600 because that is no longer a part of the commission.
Mm-hmm.
So in total, right now, what Shelly's commission should be is $7,925 because we're holding 1,000 at the brokerage to add to this check.
So that's confused part. Earnest money is for buyer.
Earnest money is what?
Earnest money is the buyer paid to the seller, so they can.
Yes.
Yeah. So why the earnest money involved into the agent's paycheck?
Yep. So what happens when you're on the buyer side
Mm-hmm.
is you as a buyer and buyer's agent gets to choose where that $1,000 of earnest money or
Mhm.
however big the amount of earnest money is, where it's being held. So it can be held in two places. The $1,000 can be held at the brokerage, which is what
Mhm.
most agents do because you have more protection there on your earnest money,
Right.
or you can hold it at title.
Right.
So when you hold it at the brokerage, it technically is still protected until the financing and appraisal deadline.
Mm-hmm.
So when the financing and appraisal deadline happens, that is when the earnest money goes hard, and it can, if your client decides to cancel for some reason, that
Mhm.
money will go to the seller. But technically, it's not to the seller.
Mm-hmm.
It's only being held as what's the word I'm looking for? It's only being held at the brokerage, and we send a
Mhm.
receipt to the seller to show the seller that we have paid our brokerage in case there is a cancellation.
Mm-hmm.
We will make sure our brokerage pays you, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So when $1,000 is held at the brokerage, though, why it's not in this check is because those funds have to be separate from title, and they also have to be separate from just the deal in general, right? Because that money right now is technically ours, but in some scenarios it may not be, right?
Right.
So our brokerage is reliable for making sure those funds go in the appropriate ways it should.
Yeah.
So technically, this deal was great. We went through, everything was clean. We closed on it.
Yeah.
So what happens is if you don't cancel and you close on a deal,
Mm-hmm.
that earnest money goes back to the buyer, right?
Yes. Yes.
So what title does is they give the funds, they do all the math on their end, right? On the settlement statement paper.
Mm-hmm.
They give the funds back to the buyer that is needed, that
Yeah.
we are expecting
Mm-hmm.
through the funds that are coming into title.
Mm-hmm.
And $1,000 that is being held at the brokerage, what they do is they just hold 1,000 instead at the title company, and they use the check that they're sending to Keller Williams.
Mm-hmm.
They just deduct it by 1,000 and use the $1,000 held at Keller Williams and add it to the agent's check.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense now?
Yeah. So, yeah, it makes sense now. Why the earnest money come to the agent's commission?
Right.
So my the second confuse is if we put this earnest money in the beginning into the brokerage, and you are mentioning title company will pay this $1,000 to buyer, but we didn't give title company this earnest money in the beginning.
Yeah. So are you saying when the earnest money is being held at title that they pay that to the buyer?
In our example, we hold the earnest money in brokerage in Keller
Yes.
Williams, and you were talking about title company will give the refund earnest money back to buyer if the transaction closed.
Yes. So if I confused buyer with buyer agent, my apologies on that. But when the process and how it should be, and maybe I was confusing it with this because the commission credit is going to the buyer. Anytime you see a commission credit, it will go to the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever you see a deposit that is representing earnest money,
Mm-hmm.
this will always go to the agent.
Mm-hmm.
there's only one other time, there's only one scenario on when the earnest money will go to the buyer.
Mhm.
So the one scenario on when the deposit will go to the buyer is, let's say, they have, so the title company has too much money, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
They have $1,000 more than they should. So they have to give the brokerage the total amount or sorry, I'm getting that confused. They have less than the amount they should. So if we have 1,000 held at the brokerage and the
Mhm.
title company is missing funds that they need to close out the transaction to give the money back to the buyer, because technically this is their earnest money
Yeah.
and we're closing on the deal,
Yeah.
then what they will do is they will reach out to our brokerage and they will ask for, let's say, $500 back or $750 or the $1,000 back, just depending on how much funds actually are needed to close out the deal that they're short on at
Yeah.
the title company.
Okay.
So that's the only time we reach out to our check lady, Priyanka, and just say, hey, title needs these funds to close because we're short $500
Mhm.
or $1,000. Can you send back these funds? Because they have enough already to pay the full check to the agent.
Okay.
I know that was a lot, but honestly, this is crucial stuff to know. Like,
Yeah.
really good insight to know as an agent, especially when it comes to you getting paid.
Yeah. Thank you so much explaining to me.
Of course.
It's
This is the
helpful.
benefit of you. You're the only one on here. So
Yeah.
it's great. Okay. Other little things within documents. We explained, or we went through consultation, under contract, closed now.
Yeah.
When we're back in consultation and under contract, if you need to, let's say, if you have an addendum to the buyer broker agreement for some reason, or you have additional documents to that buyer broker agreement,
Yeah.
how you add more documents is by clicking on these 3 lines
Mhm.
and then just clicking on add document.
Yeah.
You can type in BBA addendum 1, which is a buyer broker agreement addendum.
Yeah.
You can put it as a part of, you're disclosing this information, and you can drop the file just like this into there.
Okay.
Click save.
Mhm.
Once you click save, this is what it's going to look like. All these additional documents.
Mhm.
This is from me doing that process I just showed you
Yeah.
multiple times, right? Because in this scenario, there was a ton of HOA documents. And if you have an HOA connected to your transaction, you will have to put the required HOA documents.
Okay.
The required HOA documents you can find in section 7 of the REPSI.
Mhm.
In section 7 of the REPSI, it'll state all the documents that are needed before the seller disclosure deadline.
Mhm.
And so I'll just show you real quick. Move down to section 7. So this is the seller disclosures that need to be delivered no later than the seller disclosure deadline.
Yeah.
So when you come down here, you can see we always need CC&Rs if they have them, even if it's HOA or not. And then it's right here, a copy of the recent minutes, budgets, and financial statements for the homeowners association, if any.
Mhm.
So that's the HOA documents that you see right here. Right?
So these HOA documents will be provided by clients.
Yes, for the most part, when you, so let's say you're working on the seller side,
Yeah.
you're listing a property and it's connected to an HOA.
Mhm.
You as an agent should help your clients get these documents. So what I usually do, if you have a transaction coordinator like myself, is
Mhm.
I'll get your clients' HOA login information and then their website.
Okay.
I'll log into the website and it's always on their website. They always have the documents. If they don't, we have to get a hold of the HOA via phone or email. And it's a rarity that we have to place an order for it to get sent to us, because if your client has a login, then we're able to access it. If they don't, your client can actually call the HOA and request the documents for free.
Okay.
So for the most part, this shouldn't be too hard to collect. You just have to take some steps on collecting it as a seller agent. But if you're a buyer's agent, these documents will be given to you before the seller disclosure deadline
Mm-hmm.
or this deadline right here.
Mm-hmm.
So I always put a note to make sure I reach out if we don't have the HOA docs yet to get an update, because they technically should be giving it to us before the seller disclosure deadline.
Mm-hmm.
And then you always want to review them and go and send them to your clients. So these are additional documents. You can see that these say required. So the required documents are the ones that Keller Williams has systematized and have connected within Keller Williams. So when you open a new file, these are going to auto-populate for you to drag and pull the files in.
Yeah.
But us clicking the 3 dots and adding documents, this is all us. We got to add these in ourselves.
Okay.
If you need to split, right? Because most of the time you're going to be sending buyer broker agreement, buyer due diligence, wire fraud, ABA in one PDF. They're all going to come in
Mm-hmm.
one electronic form, and you're going to send it into DocuSign or send it through SkySlope.
Mm-hmm.
When you do that electronically, or even when you do it in person and scan it in, it's going to come in one PDF and it's going to look similar to something like this. That's separated, so not a good example, but let's see. So those are separated. Okay, so some of your documents are going to look like this, where everything is connected in one PDF, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what you want to do is split it, but you don't know how. So Keller Williams, thankfully, has put in a split and attached PDF
Mm-hmm.
icon where you're able to click on this,
Yeah.
and it allows you to split documents. So let's just pull
Okay.
this one in. Actually, we'll just do updated title commitment just for
Okay.
fun.
Mm-hmm.
So let's pretend this is a buyer broker agreement, buyer due
Mhm.
diligence, wire fraud, all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
This file only has an EBBA addendum
Mm-hmm.
open and available because technically all of them, as we saw on the last page, is taken up.
Mm-hmm.
So what you can do in this file is just click this. But let's say if we had all them, buyer broker agreement, all those in a checklist, we could go down this checklist and keep clicking what we need and then put the page range
Yeah.
and add more pages and then name this document whatever we want, right?
So the first 4 page will be the BBA and the rest of the page will be a different name.
Yep. So I'm actually going to jump into mine real quick so I can actually show you and it'll be easier for you to follow.
Okay.
Okay. So this is mine. Let me get rid of these. So what your command file and documents is going to look like is something like this.
Yeah.
It's empty, empty. Well, this should be empty, right? Everything's going to be empty for the most part.
Yeah.
So when we split documents, we'll come here and you'll notice when we go to this next page that when you click this down arrow, it will actually have all the labels for you so you can organize it pretty easily.
Okay. Yeah.
And then add more pages, and then you can just say that's BBA and then just keep going down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do it one more, do one more. And buyer due diligence, good to go. So we're going to split and attach.
Mm-hmm.
It automatically goes to the appropriate boxes for you, which is awesome.
Oh yeah.
So it'll split all those all the way down, as many as you have connected in one PDF,
That's so cool.
right?
Yeah.
It's easy, makes our life so much easier.
Right.
So those are all the features I would say are on the 3 dots.
Mm-hmm.
And then submit to MC. So, you know, remember on the last command file, we had the consultation under contract closed, approved with green, highlighted in green.
Yeah.
So when that is highlighted in green, that means we've already clicked submit to MC.
Okay.
and our third-party doc guy has approved our file.
Okay.
So you have to do 2 submissions. I usually do 3, but the
Mhm.
third one is closed, right? But I do that once Priyanka has uploaded our DA and check and CD. So you only have to submit to MC in this section once everything has been completed. And your
Okay.
file is closed, right?
So you only submit it once your transaction closed, everything is submitted.
Right.
Okay.
So consultation though, and under contract, these are the 2 that we will need to submit. This is probably the most important piece of information I can give to you for getting paid.
Yeah.
To get paid, these boxes, these 2 have to say approved.
Okay.
So you have to submit to MC,
Mm-hmm.
right? Once we submit, this box will turn gray and
Yeah.
it'll say submitted.
Okay.
Once it's submitted, our third-party doc guy is going to get a notification to go into your file and to review it.
Yeah.
Once he reviews it, he's going to give you the green light saying all documents look good, they're approved, or he's going to give you something that looks like this, right? Required.
Okay.
This box will be here though, and it'll be red.
Right. Okay.
And when it turns red, it's going to have notes. So you'll click on it under contract if it's red there, or consultation.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that the red required box is on under contract.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll click on under contract and we'll look for a note icon. So it'll look something like this.
Yeah.
It'll have a note icon by either the real estate purchase contract, earnest money receipt, whatever needs fixed.
Mm-hmm.
He leaves little notes right by the document for you to hover over
Mm-hmm.
and see exactly what needs to be fixed. So he'll say, wrong document was uploaded in this file, or your seller or buyer didn't initial addendum 1. We need those.
Mm-hmm.
So he is very specific with what he needs. So you don't have to worry and try to figure it out yourself. He'll write you a note to tell you what you need to fix. And once you do that, you'll go ahead and remove that document that needs to be removed.
Yeah.
And just upload the correct one.
Okay.
Add comment is the last feature. Adding comment is you communicating to our third party doc guy, Randall.
Okay.
So let's say there's no HOA in this file.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new construction, so we don't have any seller disclosures because they're within the contract from the new build.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be no MLS printout because it wasn't posted on the MLS because it's still under construction.
Right.
So if we're missing 3 documents, that means we need to put a note and just let Randall know and just say, hey, no HOA,
Mm-hmm.
new construction.
Mm-hmm.
So no MLS printout.
Mm-hmm.
Once we add that as a reply,
Mm-hmm.
when we submit this to the MC,
Mm-hmm.
he can see our note.
Okay.
So reason why that's so important is if you don't put a note, right now there's a note here for him to see.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't put a note there describing the scenario of the transaction that you are working on,
Mm-hmm.
he will return your file and put a required
Mm-hmm.
little red icon here, pretty much stating that these documents need to be uploaded because they do on every transaction. But again, every transaction just sometimes doesn't need all the documents. So he knows that if you send that text to him or that message to him, he'll approve your file because he won't flag those to be uploaded. Okay, any questions? We have a little bit time left, so that's good. We'll go to offers and commissions next, but do you have any more questions on documents?
No, not any questions so far because I haven't done any transactions. So from what you told me, it makes sense. You just upload all the required documents and submit it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, you'll have a lot more questions as you go, but hopefully, hopefully this Zoom will allow you to remember these steps because that's what's going to be the most crucial when you do walk through them, right?
Right. Yeah.
And you will probably have me or whoever you connect with, maybe Cassie,
Mhm.
as a transaction coordinator. And so we will be doing this for you.
Mhm.
If you ever decide not to have a transaction coordinator, you will have to know how to do this. So it's good to know.
Okay.
Residential. So I'm just going to show you this real quick because you see how there's all these documents are highlighted here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're populated for you to drag and
Mhm.
pull into.
Mhm.
Well, when you first come into the opportunity, it's going
Mhm.
to look something like this. Or sorry, it's not. Let me do it real quick. Okay, when you come into a property, let's say we just created a new opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm into documents. It's going to look like this.
Okay.
And so you're going to be like, where did all the documents go, right?
Yeah.
So what you will need to do, first step to get the documents there, like we saw on the last page, is click pick checklist type.
Mhm.
And so most of the time it's going to be residential unless you're doing construction or even new construction. Wow, they just put that in there.
Yeah.
That's definitely new. Whatever scenario you're working on, either it be land, commercial, residential, you
Mhm.
just want to click on that type. And then again, we're here with population of
Cool.
documents.
So you just select the option, then you can populate the
Yep.
documents for you. Okay. Cool.
Yep. So then you can see all that you need.
Mhm.
This is all new. I'm glad that we're doing this together because this wasn't here like a week ago. So
Oh, cool.
Command has been upping their game when it comes to adding in
Yeah.
conditional documents that look like this. These are required documents. We'll always need this, but conditional documents are documents that are conditional upon the transaction. So again, like if we may need a lead-based paint disclosure, we may need an FHA addendum, but we don't always need them on every transaction.
Mhm.
So when you see conditional, it's not required. These are the ones that are required.
Okay.
This is great. Just looking over it with you. Okay, so last thing with the little time that we do have is offers and commission tab. And in the offers and commission tab, this is the most important for Priyanka to know how much you are expecting to get paid.
Yeah.
So you know how in the other command file, in Shelly's command file, we had a check and CD sent from title. Remember
Oh,
that?
yeah.
It's going to be the check and settlement statement papers.
Mhm.
So Priyanka is going to receive that from title.
Mhm.
And she is going to look at the offers and commission tab and make sure that those numbers match. So the sales price should be the same on the closing statement,
Mhm.
what you have in your command file.
Mhm.
It should also match what you expect as a commission. So if you're earning 3% and
Mhm.
you're expecting $10,000, we
Yeah.
want to make sure that the commission tab has the purchase price and the $10,000 in commission
Mhm.
stated in here, because Priyanka's going to look at this and be like, okay, it matches what title sent, right?
Yeah.
She's also going to make sure that if title makes mistakes, let's say if it's $2,000 short, she's going to
Yeah.
reach out to you and make sure that what title sent is correct. And if so, we need to correct it within the commission tab.
Okay.
So it's really a checks and balances to make sure
Mhm.
that we're getting paid correctly from our
Mhm.
brokerage.
Mhm.
So when we add a new offer,
Yeah.
this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be one full page of filling out information.
I didn't notice. How did you get on this page?
Again, okay, go back. So this is where we were at, right?
Okay. Offers, commissions. Okay.
Add new offer.
Yeah.
When we click that, it's going to bring us to this page.
Oh, okay.
And
Cool.
this page is now 1 page. It used to be 4. So it's nice. It's really easy to read
Mm-hmm.
and insert the information you need.
Mm-hmm.
We will type in the property address, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it'll be auto-populated for you, but let's say this is the property address.
Mm-hmm.
If for some reason you can't submit and create a new offer, I'll show you a wraparound for that.
Okay.
But let's say this is the property address, and now the property type is residential,
Mm-hmm.
right? Unless it's going to be commercial, but for this example, we'll do residential. Multifamily is going to be the classification,
Mm-hmm.
unless it's a new home, but most of the time it's going to be multifamily home. You can click pre-approved or pre-qualified.
Mm-hmm.
Should be pre-approved, pre-qualified. I really don't ever check these boxes, but you can. Pre-qualified is pretty much just stating that they are qualified with a loan from a lender. So pre-approved is like, hey, you're pre-approved by the lender, and now we're going to try to connect you with someone that can supply you a loan for the amount that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-qualified is they got qualified for a certain amount. So let's say $300,000 from a loan officer.
Okay.
Or from not a loan officer, but from a company. I forget the words for it, but a company that supplies people loans. So it's the one that gives the money, right?
Yeah.
That is pre-qualified.
Mm-hmm.
Seller name, we'll just put my name, or that may be confusing. We'll put Clara. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say the seller's name, because we're on the buyer side.
Yeah.
Buyer side, right, is going to be Abdu Haas, which is our client.
Mm-hmm.
I am the agent representing. This is already pre-written out for you.
Mm-hmm.
This is the information that we do need to fill in. So
Yeah.
seller name, Clara. This is great for copying and pasting from the contract to this section. So most of the time I pull up the contract while I'm filling out the offers and commission tab, so I can just copy and paste the information over.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll copy and paste the seller's name. I'll copy and paste the seller's agent representative name,
Mm-hmm.
which will always be, if you're curious on who the full agent is,
Mm-hmm.
when you go to the contract, the agent's name and, oh man, wow, this is a terrible example. Let me see real quick. Okay, Rego just closed on one. And, okay, this is a new construction. What the heck?
Should be on the Revsy, right?
Yep, it's on the Repsy.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be on, let's see, just to show you. Okay, it's gonna be right here in section 5.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever need a seller's or buyer's email address, it's always gonna be on the MLS, and I usually look them up with this information,
Okay.
and it'll populate through the MLS for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last minute. We'll copy and paste the name, Ryan Ogden,
Mm-hmm.
and sales price, let's say, is just 500,000.
Mm-hmm.
Earnest money is 5,000. Contract date, let's say we went under contract today. That's the contract date. Closing date is going to be in a month from now. So we'll say October 26th.
Mm-hmm.
Everything looks good. Everything's inserted correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Escrow status, we're going to hold it at the market center. This is the earnest money.
What does that mean? Escrow status.
So escrow is just an account that a brokerage holds other people's money. So
Okay.
really it's them holding buyers earnest money is the escrow.
Okay, gotcha.
So anytime you hear escrow, just even if it's at title, but for this situation, it's our brokerage,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's an entity that is holding somebody else's money and it's being held in their escrow account. So it's just sitting in there for whenever it needs to be used.
Okay.
So it's not touched by the brokerage. It's not touched by the title company.
Okay.
So create and accept offer. So this one went through, which is great. Sometimes the property address can give you trouble, but this one didn't. This is what it's going to look like when you get to your page. This is the sales price. These are the dates. We're getting a credit for 1 unit. And this is the commission rate.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can, I don't know why that's not adding agent. Looks like we're gonna add agent payment now. So this is all new. This is not what it used to look like. So I'd have to play with that a little bit. But anyways, this is the page you want to get to. You want to fill out this information. And once you click submit,
Mm-hmm.
this is going to eventually say submitted, and then it's going to be approved by the brokerage,
Mm-hmm.
and that will be good to go.
Yeah.
But I know we're 4 minutes over, so we'll cut it off there.
Okay.
But do you have any questions before we go?
No, it's all clear.
All
Appreciate.
clear.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, hopefully next time, if you do attend one of these calls, I
Mhm.
will dive more into like the MLS or DocuSign, so you can really get used to those systems.
Yeah, I'll be in your class anytime.
Anytime, perfect.
Yeah.
Love to hear it. Okay, well, it was good. It was good to hang out with you for this hour, Vicky. And
Yeah. Thank you so
yeah.
much. It's like a
course.
one-on-one class for me.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more
Appreciate your time.
Okay, have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Training your
Hold on, honey, it's still recording. I need to ask real quick, but I think I can end it in meeting for